This chapter also deals with the concept of design reproduction. Start over. This chapter also deals with the concept of design reproduction technology and the design reproduction technology specialist. Design reproduction technology was a term coined at Cal Poly in the 1980s when the infusion of digital technology became imminent in the graphic arts field. The design reproduction technologist is a person who understands what we call linear thinkers and holistic thinkers. And the concept of linear and holistic thinking goes back to the 1970s when the theories and concepts of left brain and right brain thinking started to become popular. Let me refer to a publication that's considered a seminal work dealing with these theories. The book is entitled The Origin of Consciousness and the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind. It was written in 1976 by Julian Jaynes. This book points out that depending upon the fields that you work in, and whether or not you are successful in different fields and unsuccessful in other fields, very often depends upon whether you are a left brain thinker or a right brain thinker. A left brain thinker is considered a linear thinker. People think in lines. 2 comes after 1, 3 comes after 2, 4 comes after 3. And a holistic thinker is a person who thinks holistically, okay? Not in a linear fashion. A person who relies on intuition, gut feelings about things. In the graphic communication industry, there are both kinds of people at work. Designers are often considered holistic right brain thinkers. Creative people fall into that category. However, technical people, computer scientists, people involved in production who have to think in terms of workflows, linear thinking, are typically considered left brain thinkers, linear thinkers. The design reproduction technologist is a person who has to work with both types of thinkers. The design reproduction technologist is not a designer, is not necessarily a graphic designer, but must work with design people, creative people, advertising agencies, design studios, marketing people, and so forth and so on. But he or she must also work with more technically oriented people, people involved in the production process, people involved with the technologies, people involved with computers and this sort of thing. So this type of person is trained to think in terms of, or to understand how creative people think and how technical people think and how to bring them together. So, what are some of the digital tools and skill sets that design reproduction technology people have to deal with? Well, one thing is repurposing software, knowing how to convert images for different media, digital print, and non-print digital imaging, knowing how to take designs that are created in advertising agency or in design studios and having them produced in some form of physical media, a book, a magazine, a website, so forth and so on. The design reproduction technology specialist must also be versed in pre-flighting software, knowing how to make sure that files being used for printing and imaging are accurate and complete. Are the components that the designer built into the file able to be accessed by the printer or the publisher? These are things that the design reproduction technologist must understand and make sure that both ends of the equation, the design and the technical end, are in sync in the way they're preparing their materials for reproduction. So specifically, what are some of the areas of repurposing that has to be considered? I mean, there are many, but resolution adjustments, dots per inch for different substrates or different kinds of media, knowing how to convert RGB to CMYK or CMYK to RGB. All of this will make sense after completing this book. So then there's also the concept of output neutral data. Data that's available in a medium that can be used or that needs to be used for many different kinds of application. The design reproduction technology specialist must know how to take such media and repurpose it or prepare it for print or non-print digital imaging. They must know how to change data to be suited for different media. For example, different paper and different printing processes may require changes in image characteristics. This is a form of pre-flighting for different media. The design reproduction technologist must also be a very collaborative person, obviously. If they have to work with creative types and technical types, people who think in different ways, they have to be collaborative. They have to know how to communicate with people on both sides of this equation. So the design reproduction technology specialist must work with, as I said before, creative people involved in the design process and technical people who work in the production process. They must know the jobs of each. They must know what people on the creative and technical end must do to fulfill their jobs successfully. Again, they must be able to work with advertising agencies, design studios, marketing people, and so on, as well as people on the technical end of production and reproduction. So here is where understanding holistic and linear thinking is helpful, whereas designers and creative types are usually holistic thinkers and technical people are usually linear thinkers. Think about these concepts. Think about some of the questions that you might ask yourself as to, are you capable of understanding? No, I'm going to start over this last thing. Yeah. So think about what I've mentioned. Think about where you fit as a creative person or technical person. And think about what you must do to understand the work of others who you will be working with in the field of graphic communication. Come up with questions. Ask yourself questions and pursue the answers. By the way, we're here to help you answer those questions that you come up with. Last sentence I'm changing. By the way, we are here to help you in answering those questions that you come up with that'll help you be more successful in the graphic communication field.